This is Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. We want to thank you so much for choosing Church of Uganda Family TV. Today is Thursday, and this is our Thursday edition where we talk about leadership and governance. You don't need to miss today's talk. It is another unique one, and whatever will be discussed here is really very, very important, especially if you are to see your institution growing. Edrine Mukalazi is my name. I want to introduce our panelists. Of course, we have Dr. Patricia. Dr. Patricia, it's a pleasure having you once again.
Thank you very much for having me, Edrine. Good evening, viewers. I'm indeed happy to be part of this discussion this evening.
Ben, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Edrine. Good evening, viewers. It's good to be here.
And we are privileged to have you again. Today we are looking at nurturing a flourishing society, and in this we are zeroing our society to our workplace society, the institution where we are. That is the society we are talking about. How can we nurture, how can we see the flourishing in this particular society? So because I believe every leader really wants to see their institution grow from one level to another and celebrate the victory. But how can that happen is what we want to look at. Let us first of all look at, Dr. Patricia, the power of nurturing human capacity, especially if we are to see our society growing or our institution growing. How is this important to nurture human capacity?
Well, nurturing is very significant, especially in leadership today, because a leader who does not nurture, does not groom or prepare other people to take on responsibility in the institution. So a person of influence nurtures other people, and there are things involved in nurturing. Nurturing can be right from home with the children, nurturing can be with employees at workplaces, nurturing can be done even at church and in different spaces we find ourselves in. And how do we nurture? The nature of nurture is in such a way that you have to show love, care, and affection towards those people, because if you don't love them, you can't be able to instruct them. So you have to show empathy, you have to feel with them, you have to understand their problems, you have to listen in as a leader. So a nurturing influencer is normally a giver. That means we are to give that love, we are to show that attention, we are to give mentorship, we are supposed to respect them, and so on. So love, before you do anything in the lives of other people, we have to show them love so that they feel needed, they feel wanted, they feel cared for in that organization. Without it, there can be no connection, there can be no future, there can be no success together. Showing this love is by feeling with them, showing them the right direction to take, identifying with the problems or challenges they go through, or appreciating their contribution as well. Because the length and breadth of our influence in others is directly related to the depth of our concern for them. So if we are concerned about others, about the welfare of the people we work with, then they will feel cared for, they will feel attention is being given to them. So when it comes to helping people grow and feel good about what it is they're doing, it's important that we basically show them this kind of care. And we have to show them also with respect, because people respond positively to respect. When you don't respect the people you're working with, they will not listen to you and they will not respect you either way. People will do nearly anything for you when you respect them. So if we are to nurture a flourishing organization or society, then we have to make it very clear to them that their feelings, first of all, are important, their preferences are respected, and their opinions towards the organization are also valuable. It means giving them the benefit of doubt, listening into their concerns and taking positive action or responding to what it is that concerns them. It means consulting with them to take key decisions on issues that concern or affect them as employees in an organization. And then people feel cared for when they are confident that they have security at their places of work. Security, people will trust you when they feel that you have a sense of security over what it is they are doing. When you're able to give them confidence that they will have their contracts renewed, when you appreciate their outputs and give them that confidence that they will continue working with the organization and the security of tenure is guaranteed. Then recognition. In order to nurture a flourishing organization, we need to recognize people and give credit where it is due. People spend a lot of time and energy doing work, making input, conducting activities in the different institutions and agencies in our country, but they need to be recognized. Failure to share recognition and show appreciation to others impacts negatively and affects even the way they do their work and makes them lose morale. But when they are greatly appreciated, they feel propelled to go the extra mile. And then also encouragement. People need to be encouraged. People need to be praised. When they lack encouragement, then they are hindered from living a healthy, productive lifestyle because they eventually get discouraged because they are working too hard, way too hard, and nobody seems to be giving that encouragement which should be able to propel them and give them energy to move on and on with their work. So, but when a person feels encouraged, he can face the impossible and overcome even any adversity or challenge that may be heaped up upon him or her. Yes, so that's what I would basically say about nurturing and how I feel it should be done in organizations by leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Now we look at institutions. We've very many times talked about ethics, core values. So you realize that an institution has even pinned on the various walls what they stand for, especially when it comes to core values. But it is also possible that most of them, especially most of the employees, do not follow these core values or do not represent these core values. What the core values say and what the employees do are totally different. But then how can we nurture institutional ethics if we are to have an flourishing workspace or institution?
You know, when you talk about nurturing, the first thing that comes to my mind is how women treat their children and how they grow a family to ensure that the family arrives at a certain destination, or better still, that the children survive. You know, I know many fathers who wouldn't spend a day with their young children and toddlers. They would rather go home and spend it with the grandparents, knowing that if the child needs to survive, it does not depend on me. So when you speak about nurturing, I think that's the thing that comes to my mind. And as you talk about nurturing institutional ethics, I think it's the same approach that leaders need to use for people who are within the organization. And so how does a mother brood over her children to ensure that there is sustainability, there is sustenance, and then they have the ability to grow is really what we are asking. And the way that is best done is to ensure that what matters to the institution also matters to the people. Or if you say it the other way around, what matters to the people should also matter to the institution. When that collides, then you will find that people will grow because you're not walking in disagreement. In fact, you're now walking in agreement. And so you have to ensure that the ethics or whatever you value as the institution becomes the core value of the people. And that should not differ so much from their own value system. And so you employ people knowing that they trust you, they trust the ethics of this particular institution. They actually agree to it, and they know that as they grow up in the institution, this is the kind of person I want to be. It can be done through in the interview process. You ask the questions that people usually ask: where do you see yourself in this institution a couple of years from now? If that person's response reflects the ethics or the ethos or the particular part of that institution, then you know this is a person that we cannot lose. And so you begin to nurture right from the interview process by asking their value system and seeing whether it actually aligns with the institutional value system. It's important because in the end, you're looking at sustainability beyond just that interview process. The other, which goes without saying, is how are you willing to value their growth? I always say this: if you're going into an interview panel, one of the questions you need to ask yourself is, what does growth look like in this place? So if I know that there's a seal in growth, it means my time limit there is also sealed. It will come to an end within a short time. But if I see an opportunity for growth, both personally, career-wise, and maybe by chance, even family, I am more inclined to stay in this place because it's speaking to a value system in me, but it's also speaking to a value system to the institution. So in so doing, what you're doing, the institution wants to grow, but so does the person. Can you find a meeting ground and allow each other to both flourish in that area? And I think lastly, it goes without saying that you need a system and a structure that works, because it's good to look at people at the interview process. It's also great to ensure that all these processes are taking place. But what sustains the ethics in an institution or a person is what you call systems in place, a framework that enables everybody attain what they want to attain. The framework could be the code of ethics that you put. What is in the code of ethics? What do you do when it comes to conflict resolution? How do you handle that particular aspect? And putting a framework in place will enable both the institution to be accountable as well as the person to be accountable, because when they enter, they're all signing towards this. So it's not, you're never bigger than the institution, and the institution has got to survive you. So as much as possible for the institution to survive, it has to have a framework, a system that is functional, that the people understand and they can attest to.
Okay. Thank you so much, Diana, for that submission. Now we look at interests, Dr. Patricia. Sometimes you realize that individuals have their own interests that maybe they want to enforce, but then we get back to the institutional objectives. So how can someone deal with, how can a leader manage personal interests versus the institutional interests or institutional objectives?
I think it falls back to integrity of that individual, because where you find your own personal interests clashing with the interests of an organization, then you know there is a challenge there. You have to deal with it, because if you have been employed, look at why you are employed in that organization, look at what your contribution is for the betterment of that organization vis-a-vis your personal, because the organization will facilitate you in terms of salaries and other emoluments. The organization will take care of you, maybe health-wise, if it is provided for in the contract. The organization will do a lot to build you, train you, groom you, and equip you with skills to be able to do your work, and that is still nurturing. Sometime back I gave the example of a dog. A dog will be loyal to the owner depending on what the owner does to it, to take care of it, give it some food, attend to it, clean it, play with it. A dog will be so loyal. A person, a human being, an employee will be so loyal when he's shown that kind of attention, like I said earlier on. Going back to the question on interests clashing, when you look at leadership and governance, you find that there are fundamental pillars that shape the destiny of an organization or an institution, and overall even of the nation or even other organizations. Leadership and governance. Effective leadership normally inspires, effective leadership motivates, effective leadership guides individuals and groups towards common goals of the organization. Now when you receive that guidance towards common goals, towards the values and principles of the organization, you can't drift and begin thinking about your own personal goals and whatnot. You have to find a way of fitting in and contributing positively towards what the organization has as its core values, in its mission statements, and what it stands for. Now, leadership has got to be inspiring and visionary. When it is inspiring and visionary, then this individual who has got their personal will try to align their own personal values to the values of the organization. If they are inspired, if they have picked the vision, leadership goes beyond titles and positions. It's the ability to inspire others. It's the ability to influence others. Now, if you're a leader out there and you're not able to inspire others or influence others, then I think we need to go back to the drawing board and do a self-evaluation and ask yourself, how many people have I inspired during this quarter or during this half year or during this year? And we'll start from there. Leadership goes beyond titles and positions. Sometimes we are taken up by this whole thing they call positions now and so on. But effective leaders normally possess that visionary thinking and capacity to set clear goals and strategies to guide the people in order to help them do their work. They normally lead by example, by upholding those ethical principles, and also working by displaying the integrity we are talking about, living for truthfulness, working for those values of honesty and being able to communicate, walk in the light at all times, so that everybody knows what is going on around and everybody knows what the organization stands for. Recently we had target setting, and we had to go through this with all our directors, managers, supervisors, and everybody else in the organization, where people were setting targets according to the strategic plan. What is it that we stand for? What will be our outputs? What is achievable during this quarter? What can we do during the year? Now, if leaders are able to provide such guidance, we can be able to achieve our mission. We can be able to achieve those targets which are set by everybody else. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Then we look at a situation where if you're not there, if you're not in that position, if I can borrow that word from Dr. Patricia, if you're not in that position, we tend to think that people there are not doing anything. So it's that they have compromised, they have forgotten about us, they're doing what they want. And then our problem, sometimes you feel, if you're there, then you can cause this change. So another opportunity comes, you also go there, you tend to do exactly what the other person was doing. Does that mean that there is a neutralizer up there? Does it mean
Power corrupts?
An absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That's a very interesting question. The weight, I think there's this saying that the one who's the head which bears the crown, I think is the heaviest. Mm-hmm. Something like that. I think I've got it mixed up. But the head that bears the crown bears a lot more responsibility. You see children as they walk into a supermarket with parents. They have no idea the cost of what they want. Yeah. They're going to cry, they're going to scream, they're going to do anything to get that toy, to get that what they want to eat. The parent knows how much money is in their wallet or is in their bank. In fact, parents save themselves by not taking children to the supermarket. Yeah? As a child grows up and they begin to pay certain bills in the home, you begin to watch why certain lights are on. And you say, people, switch off the lights. Yeah, my parents laughed at me when I did that. Switch off the lights. Because now you're paying the bill. Yeah, it's different. The responsibility is different. You're seeing things from a different view. You leave home and go out of home. Now it's time for you to fend for yourself. Every bill is on you. Not just some that we're at home. Every bill is on you. So the power, the water, the transport, the gate person, wherever you stay, every bill relies on you. And then you'll start to see people's statuses, adulting is hard. Because finally it just dawned on you that it's not the same as the child who was screaming for biscuits in the supermarket. It's the view that everybody should take about leadership. That when it's really about a growth process, you will get there given the chance. The responsibility is much more than you expected. The ability to cater for people, cater for the vision and drive it, and also find yourself in it is quite something. Respect every leader you will ever meet, because the truth is, what weighs on their head will always be so much more. So as an employee, again, as a leader should look at them. This could be the child in the supermarket. This could be the one just starting to pay bills at their home, or this could be the person out of home. And so look at them in that sense and treat them differently. They will grow through the process and they will learn. But as they grow through the process, is try to divest power to them so that they see what it looks like. Never leave them at a stage where they're just crying for biscuits, because they'll never own the vision at that level. They will never be able to carry on and ensure that there's continuity of the business. So what a leader should do in such processes, especially when you're trying to build ethics, is to divest some of the power to them. Give them an opportunity to test what it feels like to hold power. Give them a meeting to lead without much prior warning and see what they do with it. Yeah, see how they fumble through it, and then take them aside and teach them, mentor them, coach them, show them how it's done, so that the next time you give them that opportunity, there's greater respect for how they handled the job. As much as possible, a leader should divest as much power to the people. There are things that require you, but you'll find that many things do not necessarily require you. Divest that to different management teams, to different people down the ranks, and allow them to experience it And the more they experience it, the more they grow, the more the institution grows. Give them that opportunity.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dan. Dr. Patricia, there is a saying in Uganda that people normally use it. But what okay, you know, why do leaders forget others when they reach there?
Well, I do not know. I don't know why, but I don't think.
Have you
as
forgotten
a leader,
anyone?
I've
Have you
forgotten
forgotten
others.
any?
But I wanted to pick the conversation from where Diana had
Yes.
stopped. I'm a parent of 3 boy children, and parenting boys can really be challenging. Also, I hope they're listening to me out there. That's what I'm holiday. And there is this thing about the boy children and the iron. Right from the time they're toddlers, they see you ironing, they're admiring the iron. It's like a car, everybody wants to touch it. You say don't, they're struggling for it. But I would give them the opportunity to touch it, and they would learn and know that, hey, it's hot, it burns. Just like the example Diana was giving, when responsibility comes, you find yourself swimming in deep waters, and you take on responsibility, and you're able to begin facing the tasks, paying bills, and taking on leadership roles. Leaders, we need to be visionary and with a purpose. And this is how we can have impactful leadership. We do not have to leave the people. We don't have to leave the people, because when you leave them, then who are you leading? You're supposed to be in sync, in touch with the people all the time, because a strong leader should be that one who is able to articulate the compelling vision for the future, by also instituting issues to do with the purpose and direction for the team to follow in order to have impact in that organization. Because the vision serves as a guiding star. If an organization has a vision, everybody should be looking at that vision. Remember the star that led the wise men to where Jesus was born. That vision is like that star. Everybody's eyes should be on it. Whatever decision you take, is it according to the vision of this organization? And the leader should be able to motivate individuals to work towards the shared aspirations in order to achieve that purpose. So leaders are not supposed to detach themselves from the people. I know there are many out there who go and confuse voters and give them some small money. And you know, a hungry person doesn't think beyond his next meal. The voter will quickly pick that money and spend it for buying food for himself and give you his vote. But what kind of leadership are you offering? Are you bribing them away to give you the vote? And then most such leaders, by the way, don't go back to remember the people. Those are the people who forget the people in their constituencies. Leaders are supposed to offer empowerment to the people they are leading. If you're a member of parliament, ask yourself, have you empowered the people in your constituencies? If you're a head of organization, have you empowered those below you, the people you're leading? If you're a CEO, what empowerment are we talking about? Are you able to skill them, to tool them, to equip them with abilities to perform their tasks very well? Because when you look at empowerment, empowering others to succeed is a great hallmark to great leadership today. When you can empower people to take on from where you have stopped. Like me, I'm not going to be a deputy IGG forever. The IGGness will get finished. But how many have I left showing them the path of how to fight this corruption? Have I equipped them What about on issues of governance? Have I given them the tools and skills? Can someone pick from where I have stopped and move on? Another aspect for impactful leadership is communication. Who will you be communicating with if you abandoned the people and left them neglected? Communication should always be open. Effective communication is very vital in conveying vision setting, expectation, providing feedback, and keeping people up to date, and even measuring progress on how the organization is doing, on how it is able to fulfill its targets, on how it is progressing, especially in implementing activities, on how the members are performing, especially as on a personal level. So it is very important for communication to be part of leadership, and then adaptability. Previously, we talked about the technology, about digitization. A leader should be able to drive people to adapt to the new approaches, to new innovative ways of doing things in the organization in order to have impact. That means we need to embrace innovation, we need to stay open to new ideas, we need to always consult with other agencies and promote partnership and strategic alliances with other stakeholders. A leader should have emotional intelligence. A leader should be very key, especially when it comes to decision making. They should make informed and timely decisions, considering available data, seeking advice where necessary, and this is why I was talking about the consultations.
Yes.
If you can seek advice from other people, get wise counsel from others, and that will be able to contribute positively to the leadership and impact, not by running away from
and hiding and changing numbers where we are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are continuing with this discussion. We are still continuing with Family Hour, our Thursday edition. This is where we discuss leadership and governance. Today, we're looking at how to nurture a flourishing society. So, in that society, where as a leader, have you nurtured anybody? Can someone stand and say, I'm here because this person held my hand and walked with me this journey of leadership? That is what we are looking at. But even before you nurture others, in an institution where we are then, what are some of the indicators that there is progress, there is flourishing going on? What are some of those things that someone can look at and say, yeah, at least there is some good work going on. We applaud the leadership of this place.
The first indicator really is the team cohesion and the ability for the team to work as a team. I know people say there's no I in team, and there are very many things that we come up with to deal away with teamwork. But the greatest legacy a leader can leave is a team that functions and works together, regardless of whether you hit your goals or not. Because at the end of the day, a team that functions together will stay together, they will fight together, they will fight for each other, and over time, they will turn around a result that you have actually built. The first thing that leaders should always do, especially when they get into that position, is to work towards having a team that is functional. Because when you have a functional team, even if you're pulled out of that place in a short while, I guarantee you that team that stays will produce the result. Now, people may not applaud you in that moment and say, where were the results? But results are built over time. We're not talking about just picking the apples that are close to the ground. Yeah, we're talking about the kind of leader that sees beyond them, that sees beyond 5 years, 10 years, that says, even if I'm not in this position, a number of these people will be. So my best legacy that I can give them is to build a team that will actually function. So that's the first indicator that this is the team this is a functional team and something that's worth succeeding. The next that you'll have is that you should have policies in place, policies that actually work. It's one thing to have written documentation that everybody only looks up and dusts when there's a problem. But policies in place are a good indicator that this will last and this will go places. And everybody should be aware of these policies, not just the human resource, not just the people whose docket which it falls under. Everybody should be aware. I was recently consulted on a matter, and I was listening to this person berate me about something they are supposed to do, but they required legal assistance. And so, of course, as a lawyer, you default to reading the law, which is the thing that helps you. So I go to reading the law, and I realized that this person was making up what they wanted as a solution. And so as I read it and I sat down, I realized God really did give me wisdom on how to figure out and sort out a person. So I sent them a way forward. But it turns out the person had decided their own way, not being a lawyer, had found extra things in the law that they wanted to use and used it as a stepping stone. In the end, I said, look, it gets them to what they want. It's not necessarily criminal. It's not right, but it's not criminal either. And so there's nothing I can do about it. But having policies that are understood by everybody, and everybody knows that we have a framework in case there is conflict. We have a framework in case somebody has an accident out of station. We have a framework in case the sole proprietor dies. All this is helpful for building the institution that you actually want. And then I think lastly for me is to ensure that everybody is on board. Now, she speaks about a vision. Dr. Patricia speaks about a vision. Ask many employees, I want employers to go out and give a test today and ask the employers, what is the vision of this organization? What is the vision of this organization? You'll be surprised not many people know that. And they pass it every day as they walk into office.
Written on the walls.
They receive it and they do all these things. Why? Because they don't own that vision. It's not theirs. They're here to get a salary and to leave. So a person who is building knows that the best way to do this is to sell the vision and all the other things that are that are next to the vision, so that people run with it. When they run with it, whether you're present or you're absent, people will get the work done, because they are living for something bigger than themselves. They are living for a vision that outlives them, that will outlast them.
Okay, thank you so much, then, Dr. Patricia. As we look at the characteristics of a flourishing environment, a flourishing institution, are there also signs of no progress in an institution?
Well, when you look at an institution, signs of low progress normally features when there is low morale, when people are frustrated, when there are no systems, when they are not motivated, when there is poor communication. But leadership and governance impacts various spheres of life, including politics, including businesses, education, and even the non-profit sectors. And when there is no progress, the signs definitely speak for themselves. You can see the results for themselves. But by nurturing ethical leadership and fostering good governance, you find that we create a foundation for progress, for stability, and also for societal well-being. Leadership and governance are normally intertwined forces. They shape the destiny of communities, they shape the destiny of organizations. Where there is poor leadership, then you find that lots of things begin to crumble. And that's how you see even corruption begins to flourish. And you find that whatever it is was planned for a particular activity can be diverted and put somewhere totally different. And that is corruption. But nurturing in leadership helps to foster growth and achievement, and helps to create positive impact in organizations. And leadership is not basically about only personal successes. Although remember, we said you have to deal with the person, motivate the person, because the human being is the most important, significant factor of production today. So if that human being is not motivated, if that human being is demoralized, we do not see any output. So we need to cultivate the potential and achievement of others by providing the guidance, by providing the necessary support and opportunities for development. Because in the beginning I said nurturing is about giving. How much time and energy are you going to give? How much love are you going to give? How much respect are you going to give? And their point has that help leaders to foster growth and achievement in others. One, we have got to build strong relationships and this one Diana had alluded to. We're supposed to build strong relationships, and at the heart of nurturing leadership is the ability to build strong relationships, and these are the teams she was talking about. If you have a team that is strong, that believes in you, that can take the direction you're asking them to do, then that will be a plus. Leaders who take time to understand the unique strength and aspirations and challenges of people basically achieve a lot of success in that area. Then leaders, we should be able to provide coaching and mentorship. Nurturing leaders act as mentors and as coaches to the people who are below us. We provide guidance, we provide feedback, we provide constructive support, and help individuals to develop skills in order to help them reach new heights towards the growth and development of that institution. We need to create that culture of learning as well. Learning. Where there is no culture of learning, then you find the employees are stuck with a particular perspective of thinking and with a particular mindset, and they're not open to new ideas. But when they get exposure and they do training and do courses and are able to learn new ideas, then they move to a right direction. So many a times when leaders get demoralized, when the people they're leading also get demoralized, but something can be done to make a difference by motivation, by coaching, by mentoring, by offering the necessary guidance. And motivation is not just about enhancing the salary or improving the paycheck. Someone can feel motivated just like when you appreciate him, when you recognize him for the input he makes, for the time he puts in to deliver on his particular assignment. And that is why you hear some people have in their organizations employee of the month, employee of the year, because they are basically motivating, and others look forward to getting on the notice board or in the boardroom with a picture that this was the best employee of the year or of the month or of the quarter, depending on what it is. We should be thinking about how to motivate people and propel them to greater heights as leaders, and as a way of nurturing them, as a way of encouraging them and inspiring them to grow and build on their potential to serve better. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Then, is there a measure or an instrument of measurement that we use to measure the flourishing or the progress of an institution, or we only look at the environment and what happens within the environment?
Key performance indicators are the biggest thing that any person will use to show if it's flourishing, because it means you're hitting targets. There are many of us who are satisfied by hitting targets, the people you call the go-getters. When we meet certain targets, we are happier, and so we'll keep going at a target until it's actually done. And so a business or an institution that's flourishing always needs to have key performance indicators, and is spending time to see if they are hit quarterly, biannually, and of course at the end of the year. That's the first thing that will show you that we are actually performing, because as long as you are performing, it means that there's also a reward system that is coming. So bonuses will come in because people are hitting their targets. Recognition that Dr. Patricia is speaking about will also come in. Who's not motivated by money? I think all of us are more motivated by more money. And so I'd like a bonus, but the bonus cannot come if targets are not hit. And so that's an important part for a person, for an institution that's flourishing. The other that is flourishing is its ability to expand. It can expand. Today you're in one office, tomorrow you're in 2 offices, the next you are blowing up into different number of offices. Now we need to balance that, because let me just check this by saying increasing office space is not the same as expansion. Every time people feel that they need more space, they will increase the space, but there's nothing to fill that space. It's to say we are going to expand the locations of our church, but there are no people coming to fill up the churches. So is there truly expansion happening? Or are we just creating more space that we say we hope that it's filled up? So it's important. one of those things that is important for you to know that you're flourishing is that there is a bit of expansion. There's expansion in the business. There's expansion in the clientele coming in. There's expansion in the people who are coming to work, because that's another indicator that you're actually flourishing. I mean, think of, I may promote the coffee house, but think of one of the biggest coffee houses in this particular city. They started from one, they went into two, then they were four. Now I don't know how many they are. Regardless of what you think about them, their many locations shows you that the expansion is happening, and so that's another indicator. The other, which needs to be watched a bit more, is how the leader interacts with the people, because the kind of leader that you are, it will dictate the culture and also the temperature of the office. When you walk in and people flee, that's not a flourishing environment. But if you walk in and people either pay attention or sit where they are or continue to do what they were doing, or are sort of comfortable, they have a degree of comfort around you, it shows you are doing something right. But if people would rather not be around you and they would find something else, when it comes to reporting, they send your secretary, or we find somebody that leans towards you in the office, and then we send that person. That shows a failing system. It's similar to children in a home, where you find that children need to send one particular child because they are the best child, or they need to send the maid to ask, that's even sad, to ask for something. It shows that the system is failing. So that interaction between the leader and the led, or the employer and the employees, is key to showing that this place is actually flourishing.
Well, thank you so much. But before I let you rest, you talked about an environment where when people see you, they flee. But I also look at a situation where when people see you, they'll stay. But inside them is a lot of pressure and panic. And they are praying hard that something takes you away immediately.
Oh,
what does that indicate? Because you cannot see this situation as a leader, but this is what the employees have in their hands.
Sadly, as a leader, you need a lot of emotional intelligence to gauge that, which means that you have to be able to read people's demeanor. Many people, I think we have become skilled at the art of pretending. We smile while we are cursing you in our hearts. We welcome you and hug while we are behind speaking about you. By the way, I'm very disturbed that culture has crept into our nation and us as a country. Because I see people who have just been speaking about one another, but when they meet, oh, my brother, how are you? My sister, you well? It's disturbing, but it's the reality of life that we live in. And so as a leader, you need a lot of emotional intelligence to even dictate that is actually happening. And when you see something like that, it's time to team build. It's time to team build. It's also time for you to have an open door policy where people give you absolute feedback and they're not punished for giving you that feedback. Because it means that there's a breakdown between you and the employees. And that breakdown, if you want the institution to survive, you need to deal with it there and then. Saying that they don't like me, so I don't like them, I'm the employer and they can leave, is a bad way. And you become an absolutely horrible leader. In fact, you're not a leader, because leadership is influence. So it means that you have failed at your ability to influence them. And so as much as possible, do an open door policy. But now also, you as a leader, go for coaching. Go for coaching. Accept that there is something you're missing, you don't know, and there's something that you need to learn. And if you can accept that, you are able to build yourself as a person, but you're giving that institution an opportunity to survive. And so go for coaching, then expand your networks. I mean, I always encourage leaders who, especially in the same peer group, have accountability groups where you're honest. Talk to people who are within your level and say, I'm having a problem in my workplace. I'm going through this and people are treating me like this. Have you experienced it? And they will be able to give you feedback. How did you handle it? And so that level of accountability will grow you as a leader, as a person, and will enable you grow the institution.
Okay. Thank you so much. Dr. Patricia, borrowing from Diana's last aspect, she said you get people who give you feedback, but I'll mention because it is on record. Mrs. Irene Kaum at one time said that we are living in a community where people will not tell you the reality. She gave us an instant that as we are speaking, someone said, "Oh wow, you spoke so well, even when you were shouting on the microphone." That is the example she used. Now, what happens in a situation where we are living in an environment of pretense, like Diana said, that people will backbite you, and then in your presence they praise, "Wow, Dr. Patricia, indeed you're the best," and then when you turn your back, it is
Yeah, that's the reality, and that is the truth of what is happening out there. Like Diana said, we need a lot of emotional intelligence to be able to detect such pretenses, to be able to read such body language. And it is very hurting, especially from among the Christians, the God-fearing people. Then you find a sister in the Lord is stabbing a fellow sister in the Lord on the back. And instead of coming out truthfully, and the Bible says righteousness and truth are the foundations of the throne of God. But if you're a leader who is down to earth and you're able to build that confidence and trust from the people, you will get positive feedback. They will tell you, even those criticisms, which will help you to improve. They will say, "But here, today you didn't present this very well. You didn't handle this problem very well. You didn't do this. You could have done better this way." And that is very helpful. I have seen it working for me because I try to be as down to earth as possible. It's like that even a supervisor or the lowest person, an inspectorate officer, can approach me and give me feedback, and we get into an engagement and a conversation. Because when you're down to earth, then people will find it easy to approach you. But if I elevate myself so high, thou art, that means I've arrived somewhere, and these people will not be able to reach where I am. They will need to make, I don't know whether to make, have to seek or book an appointment before they can see me, and before you know it, the week has ended, and I'll miss out on that. Whatever I'll be getting out will be praises. You're doing well, you're doing well. Yet I also have my shortfalls. But it is important as leaders to be as down to earth and serve with humility. Because if you don't have humility, then people will fear to approach you because you have reached somewhere. You will be the ones reaching out to the people, but they will not reach to you. When you're down to earth, then you build that confidence and trust from the people, and they're able to bring that feedback. But nevertheless, the backstabbers are always there. Like the devil is always, hovering all over the place and wants to steal, kill, and destroy. But we are objective and positive as leaders, that even in areas where we have weaknesses, we are able to get that feedback and be able to improve. Because the journey to success is paved with so many failures and shortfalls. So the fact that you're able to get up, to rise above and be able to still walk, I think it's the most important thing. Yes.
What do you do for the backstabbers? Do you do you terminate their contracts?
Well, it's better to always dialogue. I believe so much in dialogue. Talk about it if you have the confidence to. Pray about it. And, Bayuda. Other people will betray you, but you still move on. But you can also use emotional intelligence to get back to them and let them know and put them in their places diplomatically and respectfully, and they will get to know that you actually got to know what they were doing, and they will get convicted to change and improve and become better people. Others may even get worse. But God willing.
Well, then, what are your parting shots?
Wow. Institutional building, the buck stops with the leader. How the leader grows themselves, how they influence others, how they treat others is key to building an institution. And as much as possible, a leader needs to spend time growing themselves so that they can grow the institution.
Dr. Patricia.
I think leadership calls for a reawakening as well, especially in the area of integrity. We need to be leaders who are able to serve others, to nurture others with integrity and professionalism, because where integrity is lacking and professionalism is lacking, then we make many mistakes. But when we stick to integrity and professional values at our work, guided by the laws, by the policies, by the guidelines and strategies, we're able to do a lot together through teamwork. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia. Thank you so much, Dana. And thank you so much, you, our viewer. Yeah, I've personally learned, but now that I've learned a lot, I believe you've also learned quite a lot. Edrine Mukalazi is my name. This is Family Hour coming up again tomorrow with parenting. I've worked with Brain Koategeka on camera, Didmas in transmission, and Linda Dina working out, especially on editing everything so that you see a perfect image on your screen. Have a blessed night. Meet again.